Hello everyone, thank you for coming back to our channel. In today's episode, the story of Lytudiem and Towan takes some unexpected turns. After trying to help Towan recover his memories, Lytudiem and Towan unexpectedly meet a strange girl. She claims to know Towan and remembers him as the one who left his motorbike at her place a month ago. This throws Towan into confusion as he doesn't recall the event. Soon after, Lytudiem and Towan decide to visit the local police station to clear things up. There, they meet Thu, who works at the station and has information about the motorbike Towan left behind. Thu is surprised to see Lytudiem and Towan, and after some time, he hands over the white air blade motorbike to Towan. However, the story doesn't end with the motorbike. It also holds crucial clues about Towan's past, revealing new secrets that Lytudiem needs to help him uncover. Will Towan be able to remember what happened? And what does the truth about the motorbike have to do with the gaps in his memory? Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the exciting developments. Stay tuned for more of the story. After selling a large batch of cauliflower, Lytudiem and Towan walked down the familiar road to the old woman's house. Today, they were both in high spirits after a successful harvest. Lytudiem wanted to take the opportunity to stop by and thank the old woman for taking care of Towan all this time. She also wanted to share with her the small steps Towan had made in recovering his memory. Although Towan still hadn't fully regained his memory, there seemed to be a special bond between him and Lytudiem. She felt happy seeing his smile, and in her heart, old memories slowly returned with warmth and love. As they walked down the road, a girl on a motorcycle suddenly passed by, stopped, and stared intently at Towan. She felt an odd sense of familiarity when she saw him. Towan also realized that the look in her eyes seemed to be searching for something. The girl paused, rummaged through her memory, and then suddenly recognized him. It was the person she had met a month ago. A month ago, when Towan was walking near the stream by her house, he stopped in front of her door and told her that he would leave his motorcycle there for a while and go to a friend's house because he couldn't cross the stream. She had helped him a bit and felt that he seemed quite strange. But now, as she recalled that moment, she felt something was off and couldn't understand why he hadn't come back to pick up his bike. The girl couldn't stop thinking about it. She quickly turned her motorcycle around and decided to ask Towan if he was the one. Taking a deep breath, she got closer to him and asked with a hint of confusion in her voice, You're the one who left the motorcycle in front of my house a month ago, right?" The girl stood there, her eyes filled with confusion and worry as she looked at Towan. Though she was sure this was the person she had met before, Towan still couldn't remember anything. His gaze was blank, as if he was trying to find something familiar, but all he felt was a vague sense of confusion. The girl waited for a moment, hoping something would trigger in Towan's memory, but it didn't happen. Towan just stood there silently, not understanding what was going on. Lytudiem, standing next to Towan, also sensed the confusion in the air. She looked at the girl, then at Towan, her concern clearly visible in her eyes. The girl took a step closer and gently asked again, "Are you sure you don't remember me?" Her voice wasn't as uncertain anymore, but rather a calm and patient tone. She looked at Towan with caring eyes, as if hoping to help him remember some part of his past. But Towan still shook his head. His memories were still a jumbled mess, impossible to piece together. Still deep inside, there was a feeling like some kind of connection was slowly starting to form. Toan couldn't explain it, but the presence of this girl made him feel like he knew her. He couldn't put it into words, but he could only stare at her in silence. Seeing this, the girl's gaze softened. She understood that Toan was trying so hard to remember. She smiled gently, trying to offer a bit of hope. "It's okay, you don't have to remember right now. But if you ever want to, I'll always be here," she said softly as a way of encouragement. Even though she couldn't help Toan regain his memories right away, she knew that one day he would remember, even if it took time. She turned to Lytudiem, her eyes still filled with patience and empathy. "I think this is the person I met before," she told Lytudiem, almost as a way of reaffirming what she had just realized. Lytudiem was surprised, but she didn't ask any more questions, just nodded lightly. She understood this was part of the journey to help Toan recover his memories, and no matter how hard it was, she would stand by him, never giving up. The three of them stood in silence for a long moment, no one saying anything. Toan still didn't remember, but there was something inside him, a sense that he had known this girl for a long time. He didn't know what to do, only standing there, silently feeling the presence of the girl and Lytudiem by his side. Finally, the girl spoke up, as if wanting to end the encounter gently. "If you want to get your motorcycle back, you can go to the police station. I've already handed it over to them," she said, her gaze still sincere. Toan looked at her one more time, but said nothing. He still didn't fully understand what was happening, but one thing was certain: he felt the care and kindness from this girl. She didn't ask anything more, simply told Lytudiem, "If he needs anything, just contact me. I'll always be ready to help." Then she turned around and got on her motorcycle, riding away, leaving Toan and Lytudiem standing there in the quiet space. Lytudiem watched the girl for a moment before turning back to look at Toan. She could see confusion in his eyes, a sense of something unclear, but there was also a calmness she hadn't seen before. "Are you okay?" Lytudiem asked gently, her worry showing in her voice. She looked at Toan again, feeling that same worry in her heart, but she knew this was the moment they needed to clarify everything. She spoke softly, trying to keep her voice calm. "How about we go to the police station to report the situation and pick up the motorcycle? What do you think?" Toan remained silent for a while, his gaze still vague. He felt like there was something familiar in her words, but his memories still weren't clear. However, the persistence and care in Lytudiem's eyes made it hard for him to refuse. Okay, let's go, then," he said, his voice a little unfamiliar, but with a hint of anticipation. Lytudiem smiled gently, taking his hand, a comforting gesture, showing her care and encouragement. "I just want to help you remember what you've lost," she said softly. Full of patience and determination, they both stood up, leaving the peaceful spot by the stream and heading toward the police station. They weren't in a hurry, because no matter the challenges ahead, they both knew that this was the important first step to clearing everything up, not just about the motorcycle, but about the past that Toan was trying to piece together. Lytudiem looked at Toan, silently hoping that the next steps would help him remember everything, that the important memories from his past would gradually come back, even if slowly, but never lost. When Lytudiem and Toan arrived at the police station, Thu was already there, looking somewhat surprised to see both of them. He recognized Toan immediately, but his expression changed when he understood the reason for their visit. Lytudiem gently explained that Toan was there to retrieve his motorcycle, and she also mentioned that a girl had brought the bike in to report it. Thu nodded. Then he remembered, "Oh, I didn't have the chance to return the bike to Toan, and I completely forgot about it," he said, his voice slightly hesitant. Even though he understood the situation, Thu still felt a bit awkward. "It's no big deal." Lytudiem smiled, though there was still some worry in her heart. She turned to Towan, hoping to make him feel more at ease. Thu stood up, went outside, and returned with Towan's white Airblade motorcycle. "Here's your bike. I've kept it for you all this time, thanks to the girl who helped out and reported it," Thu said, handing the bike over to Towan. Towan took the bike and stared at it for a long time, but there was no sign of joy or any strong emotions. The vague feeling still lingered inside him. "Thank you," he said quietly, his eyes still locked on the bike, as if trying to remember something. But his memory still hadn't come back. Lytudiem placed her hand on his shoulder, gently comforting him. "Don't worry, everything will be fine." The three of them stood in silence for a moment, not saying anything more, just the stillness of people facing the past and waiting for memories to return. When Toan and Lytudiem left the police station, they walked out into the yard, where the white Airblade motorcycle had been brought. After handing the bike back to Toan, Thu continued to give a few more words of advice about how Toan could recover his memories. He also mentioned the ongoing investigation, hoping that one day there would be clearer clues. Toan gently took the motorcycle, feeling a sense of familiarity, but still unable to recall anything. He stared at the bike with a blank look, though there was something that seemed like recognition, even though his mind was still full of gaps. Lytudiem stood beside him and smiled reassuringly. "It's okay, we'll figure everything out. Right now, you just need to trust the process." The three of them stood in silence for a moment. Thu looked at Toan and Lytudiem with understanding in his eyes. Then he spoke up. "Don't worry, Toan. Everything will be fine. You just need to be patient and keep up with the treatment. We'll help you remember what you've lost." Lytudiem nodded gently, also looking at Thu, thanking him for his support. "I'll always be here with you, no matter what happens. I'll help you get through everything," she said, her voice soft, yet full of determination. Toan felt her care, and although he still couldn't remember everything, he felt a warmth in his heart. "Thank you, Lytudiem. I'll try. You'll always be with me, right?" Toan asked, his voice a little urgent, as if wanting to be certain of her feelings. Lytudiem held his hand tightly and looked at him with a gentle gaze. "Yes, I'll always be with you no matter what." Once Toan had taken the motorcycle, Thu turned and asked, "So do you want to try riding it? I'm sure it will help you feel more familiar with it." Toan looked at the bike with hesitation, but then he decided to get on. A strange sense of familiarity crept through him as he tried to start the bike, but his memory still hadn't fully returned. He felt a slight headache, but he kept pushing through. Lytudiem stood beside him, watching with concern, but unable to do anything but continue to encourage him. "As long as you feel comfortable, we'll take it slow. No rush," Lytudiem said, her warm eyes on him. Everything will be fine. Toan smiled, feeling the comfort from her. Thank you. I feel something familiar, but I can't fully remember. Thu stood behind them, watching with understanding. Don't worry, Toan. Everything will become clear in time. But for now, you need to rest and relax a little. We'll keep working together to figure it all out. Lytudiem gently guided Toan a little further, heading toward the house so he could rest after trying the bike. Though she was still a bit worried, Lytudiem didn't stop encouraging him, believing that everything would be all right. After Toan tried the motorcycle and felt a slight sense of familiarity, even though his memories were still very hazy, Lytudiem and Toan left the police station. The two of them walked down the familiar path, and as usual, Lytudiem continued to lead, taking care of him and staying by his side. Even though Toan still couldn't remember many important things from his past, Lytudiem's love and persistence were slowly helping him reclaim some of the lost memories. Their footsteps echoed as they walked along the path that led to the house where they had shared so many memories. Today, the path didn't feel as quiet as before. Dry leaves fell beneath their feet, but Toan felt a deep connection to this place. He looked around, trying to search for something within himself, but it was still unclear. Lytudiem looked at him with concern, but she didn't want to push him to remember. She only wanted him to feel comfortable and at peace without any pressure. Every time she saw that Toan couldn't remember something, her heart tightened, but she knew she couldn't rush it. As long as he kept trying, as long as he took one step at a time, his memories would eventually return. Are you okay? Lytudiem asked gently, her voice soothing like she wanted to calm him. Toan looked at her, his gaze empty but filled with emotion. I don't know. This feeling, it's so strange. It's like there are familiar images, but I just can't remember clearly. It feels like there's a curtain covering everything. Lytudiem smiled at him reassuringly. It's okay, you'll remember eventually. We can take it step by step and find those memories. Don't rush. They continued walking, the air between them filled with comfort and love. Lytudiem thought about everything that had happened, about all she had gone through with Toan. Her love for him had never changed, whether he remembered or not. When they got home, Lytudiem prepared a light meal for them to rest. Toan sat down quietly, gazing out the window, taking in the surroundings, but still unable to reach his memories. Lytudiem placed the plate of food on the table and sat next to him. She took his hand and smiled warmly. How do you feel? She asked gently, hoping he would remember something. I feel kind of vague. Everything around me feels so familiar, but it's like an incomplete story. Toan said, his eyes filled with pain. I really want to remember everything, but I can't. Lytudiem looked at him, her heart aching. Don't worry too much. Slowly, everything will become clear. I'll always be here with you. Toan turned to look at her, feeling the patience and love in her eyes. Thank you, Lytudiem. I don't know what I'd do without you by my side. Lytudiem held his hand tightly, then gently started a conversation with him about the memories they had shared. Even though he couldn't fully remember, each of her words seemed to wake him up. He couldn't recall the details, but the familiar and peaceful feeling of being with her made him feel a little lighter. Outside the window, birds were singing, and a light breeze blew through the window, bringing a sense of calm. This was the moment when Toan slowly began to realize that he didn't need to rush to find everything. The pieces would come to him when he was ready. After the meal, Lytudiem and Towan went outside. The peaceful atmosphere of the house felt like a safe haven in the midst of the storms in Toan's mind. Lytudiem decided to take him to places they had been together before. Those small steps would help him slowly remember the lost pieces. But first, they needed to face the reality, the people connected to Toan, those who could help him regain his memory. Both of them knew this journey wouldn't be easy, but as long as they were together, nothing was impossible. And so Toan's journey began with the patience and love that Lytudiem had for him, taking slow but steady steps on the road to reclaiming the memories he had lost. After their light afternoon meal, Lytudiem and Toan began preparing for the special trip she had been planning for a long time. Although Toan still hadn't fully regained his memory, she believed that the old memories would gradually return to him as they visited the places tied to his past. Today, she decided to take him to the familiar roads they had once traveled together. Toan walked behind Lytudiem step by step. He felt strange, but also sensed something familiar in everything around him. The scenery was still there, but his memories of it were as hazy as passing clouds, elusive and hard to grasp. Despite this, he didn't feel scared. On the contrary, there was an odd sense of peace when Lytudiem was by his side. They walked through the lush green hills, the sound of birds singing filling the air. Each step Toan took felt like a journey of rediscovery, while Lytudiem stayed beside him, patient and gentle, like a cool breeze. The atmosphere seemed quieter, and all they could hear were their footsteps accompanied by the rustling leaves beneath their feet. "How are you feeling now?" Lytudiem asked softly, not wanting to pressure him. Toan looked up, meeting her gaze, and gently replied, "I don't know. Everything feels so distant. But this feeling, it's like I've been here before." Lytudiem smiled a soft but warm smile. "Yes, we've been here, before everything changed." She continued guiding him, leading him to places they had been, places that only they truly understood, like a special moment shared between just the two of them. They arrived at a small garden, where Toan remembered they had once picked apples together, sitting under the tree, talking about future plans. Lytudiem sat down under the tree and motioned for Toan to sit beside her. He sat down, and though he couldn't remember all the details, this feeling, this familiarity warmed him. "We used to sit here, right?" Lytudiem asked, her eyes searching his, hoping to find a spark of recognition in his hazy gaze. Toan looked at the apple tree in front of him, then nodded slightly. "Maybe. I remember being here, and I felt very peaceful." He sighed as if trying to let go of the mixed emotions inside him. "Thank you, Lytudiem. Even though I don't remember much when I'm with you, it feels like I can get everything back." Lytudiem took his hand, gently soothing him. "You'll remember, just be patient and don't rush. I'll always be by your side, and together we'll find the lost pieces." Suddenly, a sharp pain hit Toan. He grabbed his head, his eyes squeezed shut, as if trying to grasp something he couldn't reach. "It hurts. It feels like there's something heavy pressing down in my head." Lytudiem panicked quickly, helping him sit up. "Are you okay? I'll call the doctor." Toan shook his head, trying to calm down. "I'm fine. It's just a slight headache." He opened his eyes and looked at her, giving a tired smile. "I don't want to worry you." Lytudiem looked at him with concern, but didn't say anything more, just held his hand tightly. "Don't worry, you'll be okay. Let's rest for a bit and then continue all right." Toan nodded, then leaned against her shoulder, feeling her warmth and love. He didn't remember everything, but at that moment, he felt that nothing was more important than being with her, sharing these moments together. "I'll remember right," Lytudiem whispered. Toan didn't answer immediately, just sighed lightly. "I hope so. But no matter what, you're still here, and that's the most important thing to me." They sat in silence for a long while, only hearing the soft breeze, the rustling leaves, and the distant bird songs. The air around them was peaceful, and Toan felt that even though his memories hadn't fully returned, he had found a part of himself through Lytudiem's love and patience. Afterward, they continued their journey, stopping at familiar places where they had made memories. Each place, each step, felt like a door opening, guiding Toan back to his past, even though the memories returned slowly, piece by piece.